Hello everyone, welcome to Clever CEO.
Butterfield basically is a company that is very dedicated in providing solution to coffee extract powder blends, tea extract powder blends in this industry. I think we have come so far after so many years of establishment. I think we have been planning this for years. No, we cannot say what is my main favorite. 75% of the sales come from the manufacturing.
That's a very smooth, I feel, a blend of partnership.
We can't rely on single source. These are very important for us to prepare ourselves. Talking about price, wines, actually coffee of course is a commodities item. Yeah, actually matcha actually is a very good big trend.
Hello everyone, welcome to Clever CEO, and this is a series brought to you by exclusively Kleverstock, and today we have a corporate feature. I am your host Madhavi, and today we are pleased to be joined by Butterfield FB Berhad, a company making its mark in the industry, to discuss its business journey, growth prospects and the opportunities ahead. For that, we have a very special person with us today, and that's the Chief Executive Director of Butterfield FB Berhad, Mr. MK Lee. Mr. MK, thank you so much for joining us today, and a heartiest welcome.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure to join today's interviews as well.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
So to start off this interview, briefly introduce yourself and do tell us what is your core business is like.
Butterfield basically is a company that is very dedicated in providing solution to coffee extract powder blends, tea extract powder blends in this industry. We buy coffee from every part of the world and do a taste customizations according to customer requirements, and we service to different markets, basically not only Malaysia, but as well we have Thailand, Indonesia, Taiwan, Philippines, China as well. So these contribute to 75% of our sales in manufacturing base. And other than that, we have 25% which is come from food ingredients business. So that one is more on the trading parts to complement to our core business in coffee and tea extract powders. And our customers mainly is like powder mix manufacturers, 3-in-1 manufacturers, and we have customers in food service, functional F&B, as well as some confectionery manufacturing company. And our headquarters is based in here, Bukit Minyak, Penang, which is also called Penang International Halal Hubs. And we have 2 warehouses in Thailand, one in Songkhla, another one in Samut Prakan near the Bangkok. So this is basically what our company doing. Yeah.
So before we start off with our serious questions, since you are the manufacturer, please tell us what is your favorite coffee powder, that your favorite among whatever your manufacturers are doing.
No, we cannot say what is my main favorites, because we cater for different market requirements and market taste profile, and different customers, they will have different profile of taste. So we are very flexible, and we have to achieve what they need in terms of quality and also price, So a lot of time we don't say what is our preference. We say what is your preference. Yeah, what is customer preference is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So from that, I think Butterfield is providing a very equal quality for all the extracts and the coffee mix that we I think even audiences are eager to try your product as well.
Yeah. But we are basically a B2B business model. So we don't have our own brands. A lot of, in fact, our ingredients is sold to a lot of big brand owners, which they can easily find in the markets.
So one day when we see Butterfield, then we know that it is you behind ingredients. So we know how it tastes, right, as well.
Okay.
All right, now moving on with our, that you are now moving towards East market. So with an IPO price of 48 cents and a 384 million ringgit market cap, why do you think is mid-2026 the ideal window for the listing of Butterfield FB Berhad on the East market?
I think we have come so far after so many years of establishment. We come to a scale operation, which I think is good time for us to move next phase to drive our growth. So I think IPO is a good way for us, of course, to get the capitals, you know, to have more capitals to expand our current premixes, as well as the production capabilities and working capitals. And another thing, very good thing, I think this IPO provide a good platform for us to enhance our corporate profiles and the visibilities amongst not only customers, but also overseas business partners. Because we are trustable and reliable, with a good track records companies, you know. And this is very important for us to support our long-term growth. And of course, you know, being an IPO company, I think is a good point for us to attract and retain talents, workers in our company.
So when you want to move towards East market, was the time period was planned, like because you are moving now in the mid of 2026, so was there any plan for that? Do you think that, you know, that this would be the best time for you to enter, or it just happens just like that?
I think we have been planning this for years.
Okay.
And we just move according to our plan, you know, according to our pace. You ask me which is the right timing. I think this is a good time for us, you know, because we are well prepared for that.
All right. So coming to the expansion, why is the expansion of Bukit Minyak premises, including the new construction works, prioritized with over 21%, and I think it's approximately 15.20 million ringgit of your 72 million ringgit public issue proceeds?
As I mentioned just now, Butterfield, 75% of the sales come from the manufacturing. So we are basically a manufacturing-based company. So by providing that sum of allocation to enhance our further expansion of lines, we can provide actually not only on the capacity that we are able to drive the growth, we also can expand the diversification of products that we can providing to our current customer groups, you know. So these are very important for us to prepare ourselves to grow together our customers.
I see. All right. So while your profit after tax, you know, expanded to around 35.4 million ringgit on the financial year 2026, what key operational factors drove these financial growth across your core segments?
Our strong financial performance have been driven by the higher demands for coffee and tea extract powder blends, the increased purchase volumes from our existing local and overseas customers, and also the higher average selling price that happened in the last few years. For example, in Thailand, you know, the revenue increased to over 100 million ringgit Malaysia turnover, or there's like over 40% of the group revenues in financial years 2026. I think these few factors supported the profits after tax growth to more than 35 million.
And also given that almost 57% of your revenue, right, in financial year 2026 was also generated in Malaysia, and what concrete strategic steps will you take to deepen overseas market penetration, particularly in Thailand? As you said, you have your manufacturers in Thailand as well, and also the other Asian markets.
Okay, you see, we have developed a success business model in Malaysia and Thailand, just to provide, you know, just-in-time delivery to all those customers in each countries. So Thailand is actually a very strategic hub for us to further penetrate and duplicate the same business model to the Indo-China area like Cambodia or Laos, you know. So this is a very good move for us to further strengthen the operation there. And beside that, we can also duplicate the same business model to other countries like the Philippines, you know, which we haven't really seriously penetrated that market yet, which is also a very big market. And beside of that, I think we are very working closely with our current customers, and we are dynamic. We have a lot of dynamic activities with collaboration with our current customers to explore new business. So like establish a new dedicated line in matcha extract, matcha blend, is to broaden our product offering and, you know, participate in the growing demands of matcha-based beverage in the regional markets.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I mean, talking about matcha, not every manufacturers will actually take the risk of matcha. But here, I think to incorporate that into the market is something.
Yeah, actually matcha actually is a very good big trend, I would say. And it's a good product entry for us to go in food service, cafes, which all the time I think doesn't contribute significantly to our business line at this moment. So we see this is good opportunities for us to further strengthen our market positions.
Just would like to ask your insights. I think many of the Gen Zs would have been watching our show as well. So this is a little out of it, but just want to ask, because matcha has been trend, right? Because everybody, especially with the current younger generations, they love matcha. But from a manufacturer's point of view, how do you see this? Is that really there is a demand for matcha, or do you think it's just a trend factor?
To me, yeah, I would say the demand comes from the market, which is driven not only on the young G, but also I think ladies also a big group of consumption.
Okay.
And matcha itself, I think nowadays, for example, if you go to the cafe in Thailand, for example, few years back maybe you can see 10 cups of beverage. You know, people are drinking coffee. Maybe out of 8, 10 is coffee. You know, one maybe is Thai tea, one is maybe is chocolate. But right now, if you go to the cafe in Thailand, for example, 5 probably is a matcha latte. You know, maybe 3 is coffee latte. You know, only 1 Thai tea or 1 cocoa. And I see the same trend happening in Malaysia, even Philippines or Indonesia as well. So the matcha demand is growing. And the way how we do matcha business is the way how we do coffee. You know, we try to buy different sources and do the taste customized profile to fit different customer requirements. Yeah.
That's a very, I think, interesting fact that we learned from you today. And I think we all also know that, you know, being the manufacturer of matcha, how quality that you are now providing as well. That's amazing. So, Mr. MK, so with the key suppliers accounting, right, for most of your raw materials, how do you mitigate supply concentration risk and also manage rising coffee and tea costs? Because the risk factor which comes along with this is not something easy to deal with. So how do you see this?
I think from the day one we set up this business model, we already see, you know, we can't rely on single source. That's why we source raw materials of coffee and tea extract powder blends from 72 suppliers from all over the world. You know, we buy coffee from those manufacturers in Brazil, from Vietnam, even Malaysia, you know, India, China, Colombia. You know, the diversification of to all these suppliers enable us to manage the risk, just rely on one single source. And in terms of profile-wise, we actually have always got a backup. You know, from manufacturing A, you know, for the same profile, we actually got a backup plan from manufacturer B. You know, that's how enable us to mitigate the risk of supply from one single suppliers, you know. And talking about price wise, actually coffee of course is a commodities item. We need to sign a middle to long-term contract with our broad suppliers at the right timing. Due to the concept of our coffee chain supply team, we actually get a very good relationship from different tier suppliers. We have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. So tier 1 suppliers are our core suppliers, you know. Then they will always give us the right time to enter into the market in the right price. That's how we stay competitive in the market. Of course, if the market keep going up, because coffee is a commodity, customer understand, you know, this price need to be transferred. But of course, we try to minimize the impact to them, to our customers.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think the plan B always works, right? I think having that will always be a support. That's wonderful. All right, now what is the execution timeline for completing the construction and also installing the new manufacturing line at your Bukit Minyak premise?
We're already in the middle of drafting and setting up the whole architectural plan for the 4th line. I think to fully, complete the whole operation, I think we need like 2 years after our listing.
So there'll be a brand new
Definitely,
environment,
yeah. There were a lot of new facilities that
Amazing.
could enable us to create different products. Of course, we want to set up a better R&D centers, to continue looking for new tastes, new ingredients for our customers.
So the bigger and better Butterfield can be expected soon.
Yeah, this is our mission.
Yes, definitely. So coming to the operational strategy, how does your operational strategy, address food safety as well as the contamination risk across the manufacturing, also handling, and also the storage of your beverage extract blends?
The whole quality management system, we have those like FFSC 22,000, which is food safety requirements by a lot of these food safety certification that is required by a lot of these food manufacturers nowadays. So we are certified on this. Under this certification, actually it involve incoming raw materials, how you do the QC test on incoming, until the manufacturing line, talking about hygiene control, cleaning methods. Of course, what is the criteria to fulfill the critical control points until the finished product. And we have a team of a QA QC team to manage this system. Of course, other than that, we actually have regular audits, not only from this certification body, we also have audits from a lot of customers from overseas. So this is how we make sure our products is always fulfilling the industry requirements. Yeah.
That's a very systemized plan, I believe, yeah. And so how will your expanding product development activities, enhance your ability to formulate this customized coffee, tea, and also the matcha powder, which we were talking, for your business end users?
Okay, to be in actual, we are always a customer driven business model. At the first point, of course, we work closely with the customer. We have to understand a lot of requirements come from our customers. So when the requirements come from us, we have a broad range of suppliers to support that kind of requirements that we can source from them. So this is one way that how we grow our range of product. The other thing is, due to we connected to global suppliers, whenever they have any new things coming out, they will come to us, and because of our distribution channels to ASEAN, it enables us to promote their things more efficiently. Yeah. So there are two ways that we do this kind of product developments to drive the growth of the business.
Yeah, that's a very smooth, I feel, a blend of partnership, because without that it is also very difficult to to run the business. So for you to have that say and that positioning, particularly, I think that just tells that how Butterfield is being positioned, and that's amazing. All right, so given the working capital requirements are expanding also alongside your production, also how will the company manage liquidity, trade receivables, and also the credit risk of your customer base?
Yeah, I think our CFO especially closely monitor the cash flow, and cash flow is a very critical part in this, because our value in this supply chain is to provide just-in-time delivery to our customers. To enable this, we have to control really wisely in the inventory levels, not to be too high and not to be too low. Because in our history, we never say no stock to our customers. So that's very important. Of course, the trade receivable area, we already got the understanding we have a long-term customers. They know the right time to pay that, and so far it's well managed. Of course, we have a new customer accounts. That one will go through the proper credit worthiness approval procedures. So with all this control in mind, I think we can manage the liquidity of the cash flow. And of course, the IPO, inside our IPO listing, we have allocated like over 30 million of working capitals. So I don't see any problem on that. Yes.
Amazing. Right. Also, you also recently launched a dedicated third manufacturing line specifically for matcha powder blends. So, how will this specialized capacity reinforce your position in the growing functional and also the premium beverage market?
Yeah, I've mentioned just now,
Yeah.
matcha actually is a new trend and actually a new product for us to enter into the food service F&B. I mean those cafe channels, you know. So the third line of itself is different to the first and second because this is more towards small packing. First and two is more bulk packing. So this third line they can do like 100 grams to 5 kilos pack, which cater for technically food service industry. And of course, you know, the volume, the capacity is 300 metric ton. Of course, it's smaller compared to the first and second line, but the value of matcha is quite high right now, you know. So it enables to go into those premium requirement markets.
Also, you have mentioned just now also, and because of the allocation, right, around 13 million ringgit, around approximately 18.1% of your IPO proceeds toward the strategic investments, the mergers, the acquisitions. So what specific criteria or brand profiles are you seeking potentially to target companies within the instant beverage premix segment?
We are a B2B business model company. Of course, these acquisitions, we will prioritize those companies that can enable us to provide more values to our customers and more range of product that we can provide to our current customer range. Yeah, of course, this is the first strategy we are thinking. The second, of course, as I mentioned just now, we are entering into food service. So we are also looking towards a company that have this kind of distributions for fulfilling food service industry. Yeah.
Nice. Also with Aicheong Group identified as a major customer contributing, you know, significantly to your revenue. How do you plan to deepen this relationship while also simultaneously broadening your client base?
Aicheong is a very important and key customer to us, and also actually a lot of new products developments we already inspired by our customers, especially Aicheong. So moving forwards, of course, we are exploring more collaborations, not only just instant coffee. We are actually exploring probably maybe liquid coffee, which is another new trend which is possible in this young Gen Z requirement. Collaboration with our key customers is very important that enables us to find for new product opportunities, you know. Because the thing is when you have a new product, you can actually promote it to more and more small, medium customers, not only in Malaysia, as well as Thailand.
Well said. So now talking about your upcoming East Market and prospectus. So your prospectus highlights that Butterfield retains ownership and confidentiality over its custom product formulations. So how does this intellectual property strategy product your profit, you know, and also protects your profit margins to ensure, you know, long-term customer relationship, because everything is long-term. It's very important of how long-term is to be sustained. So how do you see this?
We treat our formulation as a proprietary know-how and trade secrets rather than a registered intellectual properties.
Okay.
You know, of course, access to this formulation is very restricted to only a few senior key management personnel. But actually, if you want to look at this so-called proprietary know-how, not only on the formulation itself, but the business model. The formula is one thing, but the ability, because basically all our coffee, we get our key suppliers to custom it for us. For example, if you want to make a coffee A, you need component A, B, C, D, E. And this profile is only custom made for us. Yeah. So this is how, with the economical sales of volumes, we are able to always get the custom-made profile from our key suppliers. But to combining all these things, you need all these components. So I think this is one of the way how we have been sustaining, surviving through so many years, and keep our customers for more than, I think all those our key customers is with us more than 10 years.
That's a long journey.
Yes.
Also following the pre-IPO as such, transfers as well as the corporate record reorganization, how has Butterfield FB Berhad structured its board oversight, including your independent non-executive chairman and ARMC, to ensure very strong corporate governance post-listing?
The board has adopted the relevant recommendation of the Malaysian Code Corporate Governance, with at least half of the board comprising independent directors. And I think at least 30% must be a woman directors. The chairman is also not separate from the chief executive officer. He is not a member of the board of committees, which is the Datuk Sri Lee Ka-chun. He served as the independent non-executive chairman, providing independent leadership and oversight at the board levels. Regarding the audit risk management committees as well, which comprises entirely from the independent non-executive directors. So they are assisting the board in fulfilling those oversight responsibilities, and they have full access to the internal and external auditors. So its key responsibilities of those non-exec, they include reviewing all the financial reporting, the adequacy and the effectiveness of the internal controls and risk management, as well as related party transactions and any potential conflicts of interest. So with all these kind of measures, I think it answers to the question that you raised up just now.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I think transparency is the key, and I think Butterfield has checked that. So that's amazing. Also, coming to the end of our sessions, but before we wrap up, so as you transition into the listed company now, what are your top priorities over the next 12 to 24 months, and what would you like to say to our audience?
Of course, we have to first complete, what we have written down in the prospectus, the Bukit Mini, our current premises expansion, or the new manufacturing line. And with our current capacity, we need to ramp up the utilization of the capacity by expanding to more markets, as well as providing new blends to our current customer base. Not only Malaysia, Thailand, we actually find more business opportunities on the Indo-China, as well as Middle East. Other than that, I think internally we have to strengthen our product developments, and we have to fulfill on those merger acquisition plan. Of course, all these things we are driving to create a sustainable long-term value for our shareholders.
So that was a very factual answers, as well as your explanation to our audience. And to summarize today's discussion, so Butterfield FB Berhad is scaling capacity with its IPO proceeds, protecting its high margins through proprietary formulations, strong key partnership, and also positioning for long-term growth across Asia. You would have known from our discussion with the Chief Executive Director, Mr. M.K. Lee. And that concludes our insightful session, once again with Mr. M.K. Lee, the Chief Executive Director of Butterfield FB Berhad. Thank you for joining us, Mr. M.K.
Yeah, my pleasure, my honor.
We wish you and your team every success on your ACE market journey.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Yes.
Also, to our Kleverstock audience, thank you for joining us today on this special feature. Stay tuned for more corporate highlights. Till then, I'm Madhavi signing off.
Scan now and download Kleverstock, your trusted source for market insights.